Okay, right, and we're ready to go. I'm just waiting for admin to give approval. I'm just going to let them know that I am live. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to say I'm live. I think Facebook has changed a few things since I did a test run. So I was live earlier on this week, I think it was Sunday, and things seem to work quite nicely. When I tried to set up my webcam just now, Facebook seems to have changed things, so maybe there's some settings that I'm not aware of. Okay, so in the meantime, I will just carry on and explain to you what it is that I do. I'm basically a mixed media artist. I'm Belinda. I'm in South Africa. I have had the great pleasure of doing some mixed media work for Truth Coffee Shop, which has been voted the best coffee shop in the world. And so from there, I've done quite a few things. I also make little mini steampunk hats for them. When I say mini, they are quite little. They're little fascinators. So you can see by the size of them in my hand. And I use a lot of these polyurethane things on them to decorate them. And it's just exciting to be able to make your own things. And I can see I've got 5 people watching, 6 people watching. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in to watch. I was just explaining, and sorry if you're watching the replay, you'll have to just listen to me waffle on a little bit more. That's for later. I've been lucky enough to do some work for Truth Coffee Shop in Cape Town, which is the world's best coffee shop as voted by a newspaper in the UK. And they're a steampunk coffee shop. And if you Google them, you'll find them. They've recently had a huge plug on CNN, and my work was featured, which was quite exciting. And so I thought I'd show you guys a little bit of what I do. I decorate a lot of hats for people. Here's a mini one. And I struggle to find items again and again and again in the shops. So what I started doing was looking for molds. And I found that there are some amazing icing molds. Here's one with for cogs and clock keys. I've done a few samples, which I think you can see in screen over here. I'm going to show you how to make them now. And it's really, really easy. The warmer the temperature, the faster the stuff sets. So if you're in a cold climate, you need to really warm your room up. Somebody asked earlier if there were health issues, in other words, any, I suppose, dangerous fumes and things like that. It does say use in a well-ventilated room. There are fumes. Work with a window open, door open. Yeah, so you need airflow. You don't need to wear a mask. I did ask them that. I can't actually see my screen. Because it's above me, so if anybody's asking any questions, please feel free to type the questions, and I will answer them when I've stopped the video. I'll answer them in the in the comment section afterwards. So yes, there's no real toxicity to this. I've found that I prefer working with polyurethane in the molds. For various reasons. It doesn't crack like paper clay. It doesn't crack like the air drying clay. It sets really quickly. And as I said, with the heat, with the warm room, or putting a desk light near it and so on to warm it up, the items can set easily within 5 to 10 minutes. That being said, it does make a big difference how big the mold is. Because it's a chemical reaction and it gets hot as you mix the two together, and the longer it sits, the hotter it gets. the more volume you have, in other words, the bigger the mold is, the faster it's going to set. So something like this that is quite big will set a lot faster than a tiny little cog like that. So you'll find that it's sort of like works in reverse. So you tend to think, oh, quickly knock out a whole lot of these little things. And in actual fact, they take quite a while to set. And for that reason, I've actually bought 3 of the same mold. Here you can see I've already poured this one and it's already set. And they're really, really easy to pop out. You literally just bend the silicone and they pop out like that. So it's really easy to use them. I don't use any releasing agent with this. It's not necessary. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is just get these out the way. I like to have a few molds sitting ready on the side because often you pour a little bit too much in the way of mixture and then it goes to waste. So I like to have, even if I'm only making, well, intended making a whole lot of cogs, I like to have a whole lot of mold sitting ready and waiting so that if I've got any excess left over in my cups, I can pour them into those and then it's not wasted. You might notice over here I've got a mold sitting ready and waiting. This is by IOD, Iron Orchid Designs. They're with Prima, if you want to Google that. And what I found is it's sometimes nice to have a mold sitting there. You don't even have to finish pouring it. So you can see this little bit of this mold hasn't been finished yet. And I can add to that. So if I have a couple of drops left when I've finished pouring everything else that I've really wanted to do, I can add to this one. So I'll often have some unfinished molds that are sitting just waiting to be filled up. Okay, so let's get to the mixing. I use smooth cast. You can Google it. It is available internationally. The company that brings it in here into South Africa is AMT Composites. So if you are from South Africa and you're watching this video, I know there are a couple of guys who are. It's available in our big cities, Joburg, Cape Town, and Durban. And yeah, so I'm using the Smooth Cast 300. There are other numbers. I don't know quite what they mean. I haven't gone into that. It is part A, which is the yellow one, and part B, which is the blue one. And part A, you need 100%, and part B, you want 90% when you're going by weight. If you are going by volume, in other words, you're using little measuring cups, you use 1:1 because of the different viscosity. This part B is thicker than part A. So you can use 20 mils to 20 mils and that will work perfectly. But if you're going by weight, you have to have that 10% difference. So I'm going to get going. I prefer to work with a little scale. It's a tiny little scale. And you've got to zero it. You can shake the bottles. It actually makes no difference, but this they do suggest that you shake it. I'm going to aim at 10 mils. It's quite difficult to be absolutely accurate. You just have to pour slowly. That is 9.6 grams rather, not mils. And this is part B. So, okay, so that is 10 grams. So I'm going to go for a total of 22 grams by adding part A. And it doesn't matter which order. There we go, 22. Boy, showing off for the camera. It's very seldom quite that accurate. If you're a couple of mils or grams out, it doesn't really matter. It starts off clear. Okay, it's a completely clear liquid. I use a sucker stick to mix it. And make sure you scrape the sides and rub your stick along the bottom of whatever container you're using. I like to work in paper cups. I find that because of the heat of the stuff, Foamolite cups, it eats Foamolite cups. So, right, I'm going to pour some cogs, because of course we're steampunks, so we want cogs. And you've got to pour really slowly, and it's quite viscous, and the longer you take, the quicker it's going to set within the cup. So you can't be too slow or you'll find the cup starting to get really hot, and the product starting to get really, really viscous, and then it doesn't want to flow into all the little tiny spines of the gears. So, and it doesn't matter if you over pour, because you can scrape it off. It stays liquid for a fair amount of time. Sometimes you accidentally just over pour into an object and you have to scrape it off. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one down. There's still quite a bit in here, or in fact I'm going to do a key. This is a key that I've actually made my own mold from a key that I bought at a junk store. And because I find it's difficult to actually find ready-made metal objects at a reasonable price. Okay, I've got a little bit left and it's starting to get really thick. So I'm just going to dump the excess in there because I don't want to waste it. Right. You can reuse this cup. You'll notice I've got 3 cups sitting on here. This is actually starting to get really warm. I've got 3 cups sitting on here, so when this sets, I can reuse it. I'm just going to see if there are any questions. I can't see questions on my screen. Okay, so I'll just have to try and answer questions just now. Okay, I can't see myself live. I've got somebody shared it. Thank you. So maybe I can see the live screen and see if there are any questions. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. Okay, so that's the basic pouring, and you'll notice that it stayed clear. It's still pretty clear. It hasn't gone white yet. As I talk, it's going to set, and it will go white. It's quite flexible to start with. So when you pull it out of the molds and it's still quite warm, you can actually bend it round an object. If you have already pulled it out, this is this mold over here. If you have already pulled it out and it has set and it's hard, what you can do is you can use a heat gun. I haven't tried a hairdryer. I suppose a hairdryer would also work, but I have a heat gun. And what you do is you just heat it up. It's a bit noisy, sorry about that. But I heat it up on both sides, like this. Being careful not to burn yourself, because these heat guns, as this one says, portion hot. This is not a hairdryer, because it does rather look like a hairdryer. This is one that I bought from Ranger. Okay, so I'm slowly just warming it up, and I can actually feel it starting to bend in my hand as I'm working with it. So the nice thing is I can grab this top hat over here, and I can then take it and mold it around my item like that. So, and then I can hold it there and just let it cool. Sometimes you have to heat it again, because when you let this go, it wants to spring open a little bit. But yeah, you can heat it again and mold it again. So that's another reason why I particularly like using the polyurethane. There we go. You can see the middle of these molds is starting to set. And that is where the hottest point is. So it's where the biggest volume of liquid is. The keys, which are bigger than any of those, and they will also last to pour. And you can see this piece, which was last to pour, because of its being in the cup and having volume for longer, it got hotter. So that piece is setting first, even though I poured these first, because they've been on their own for the longest. They're cooler, and therefore they're just going to take longer to set. So you'll notice that the fiddly bits, as I call them, will be the last bit to set. So the sprockets on the gears will take the longest to set. So don't be tempted to pop them out too soon, because they will bend, and sometimes they warp beyond help. Okay, so I've been holding this for a while. You can actually see that it's now fitted to the hat. This last bit over here where I was holding it to heat gun wasn't quite as flexible as the rest of the piece that I heated, because you can see this is sitting quite nice and flush. So you can see by the curvature of that it's holding its shape really rather nicely. So I find this stuff really exciting to work with, because you can mold it to just about anything. So if you're building an airship and it's got an unusual shape and you're just not finding things to sit on it comfortably without adding too many bits and bobs, if you mold something from polyurethane, you can then heat gun it and bend it. So even an item like this, I can heat it and then curve it that way to fit around my hat. And that's often what I do to make things work for me. So these guys are almost set. These keys are almost set. They're slightly tacky, so I mean, you can see at this stage they're still very flexible. If I bend the mold like that, they're not going to pop out because they're still setting. So that's going to take a little while to set. Sometimes I actually make my own molds, and that's what I've done here. And from the same company, AMT, where I buy my smooth cast polyurethane, which was this stuff, I get the actual silicone, and it comes in a bucket, a 1 liter bucket. I think you can get bigger quantities as well, but obviously I'm just a home end user. So it's called Silicone Mold Max 30. It sets in a maximum of about 16 hours. So if you make one today, you can use it tomorrow. Or if you're really a keen bean, you can make it first thing in the morning when you wake up, and by tonight you'll be able to use it. So what it is this is the silicone elastomer, and this is the silicone catalyst. And so you need 100 grams of this, and this only works in weight. So 100 grams of the actual silicone, which is white, and in this case the catalyst is pink, and you only need 10 grams of this. So you mix those two together. Now what I do to make my molds is I actually use artist's clay, just normal potter's clay. I've got a little tub of it here that's been in a plastic bag. It's just your normal potter's clay. I roll it out with a rolling pin. I have a special rolling pin. Half my kitchen has landed up in my studio, and it never goes back to the kitchen, I promise. I'll never cook with this. So I just use a normal kitchen rolling pin to roll it out nice and flat, and then I pop my items into it. Now in this case, here's the key that I used for this one, and you squish this into the clay, and then I'm so glad I never got rid of my son's jumbo Lego at the time. I build using Lego. I build around it like this into the clay, and that's what stops the silicone from falling out. The other thing you could do is you could use old lids, you could use paper cups. It depends on the size of the object you're wanting to actually mold. In this case here, I have molded off some laser cut cogs, and I used the lid of a yogurt pot, a 1 liter yogurt pot. It has quite a deepish lid, and just because the cogs are so shallow, you don't need oodles and oodles of silicone. So I managed to get quite a nice mold out of that, making it myself. So you can collect just about anything and use just about anything to actually make your own molds. That's another whole video in itself, but I just thought I wanted to show you guys what it was that I did and how I used it. Okay, so now these that I poured earlier are now ready, and out they pop. They're still quite soft. So this is what I mean. At this stage, if I want to actually manipulate it around something, I can give it a curve. If I don't like what I've done, I can bend it flat again. So at this stage, they are still rather soft. But you can see they pop out quite easily. If you do over pour, as I said, doesn't matter. You can sand it off like this little screw has over poured. And while it's still soft, you can either just break it off like that, or once it's set up really, really hard and stiff, it snaps off, and you can just use sandpaper to take off that excess. So here's a key that I've done. And there we go. Here again, I've got some excess that I don't know if you can see against there or closer to the screen. And I can just tear that away. It actually just tears away quite nicely. Here where I've got the excess in the middle there, what I'll do is I'll just poke something through there, something close to hand, and see if it's too thick, if I can't get it to poke through. No, that I'll have to just cut through and just file. Or in most cases in the art that I do, it doesn't actually matter because it goes onto a surface and you won't see that. Here's the other one I'm going to pop out. It's still quite soft. So you can actually see the key. You could make quite a Salvador Dali key out of this. There we go. Key to the castle. Nice and big. You can just imagine one of those old beautiful Victorian homes with these kind of keys. Imagine trying to fit those in your pocket. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Then the last thing I wanted to show you is how I paint these guys. You can use pretty much any acrylic. I find a lot of the acrylics are quite transparent. And so I'm just clearing the decks here. The acrylics are quite transparent, so you have to put on more than one coat. And so what I like to do, so I just want to clear where I've just dripped here. And I'm working on a craft sheet, a non-stick craft sheet. Some of you might know it as a baking sheet. I just find this is the easiest surface to clean and to wipe up. Here's another one that I've done. I'm going to leave those two in there because I haven't finished them. What I've done here is to create this copper look is I have used Rust-Oleum spray paint, and it is called metallic copper. And I just find, okay, I'm always working at speed. I have deadlines, so and I also have a day job. So I tend to find this is the easiest, fastest way to get an even coat of paint on there. So I do that outside. I let them air, bring them in. And then to age them, you can use any acrylic paint. This is a local brand, South African brand called Dala. And all you need is a good old stiff paintbrush, any hog hair paintbrush. I squeeze a little bit out on there. And you get it into all the crevices. So you cover the whole item in the paint. And then you can either take a soft rag, and you want to really get into the grooves. You're wanting, it's sort of like an object that's been hanging around for years and years and years and well worn, and dirt has got in the grooves. And so once you've painted it, then you're just going to buff off the extra. And if you're a little bit too vigorous, like I was on the pretty little bumps over there, you can put a little bit of paint back and just very carefully clip the surface like that, so it leaves some of the paint in the grooves. And again, this is one of those personal things. You either leave more or less paint behind, and there you have a beautiful worn object. And it's really quite quick. Obviously, if you want the true copper patina look, you need to add a bit of verdigris, you know, sort of green colors, some turquoisey colors, and it just depends on the look that you are going for. The other thing that I do, which some of you guys might have seen on the hats that I've done recently, is I've done the rust effect. I particularly like, it's called Rust Paste, and it comes as a set. It's made by Prima, and it's from the Finnabair line. They have various designers that come up with products for them. And Finnabair, her name's actually Anna, but she has a line that has the red rust, the brown rust, and the yellow rust. Comes in a box. If you go onto her website, Finnabair, she's got wonderful videos on how to use her product. So those are the two different ways that I use these items that I have made myself. And what I often do is on a weekend, I will sit and manufacture a whole lot of items. Then I bag them off into cogs and keys and filigree and all sorts of things. And then on another day, I'll take them all outside and spray paint them. And so I have various boxes of various items, all in various ready stages to be used. So that's how I roll. I just thought I'd share it with you guys as an option if you're struggling to find items out there. I buy my molds, these icing molds, online. You just have to hunt them down. If you Google icing molds, they're various companies. They're mostly made in China. I get from wish.com. They've also got molds. Yeah, I think going to your baking shops, they can order for you mostly. Some of them have catalogs if there's no catalog online. So yeah, there's some really gorgeous ones. In fact, somebody said that one of the hats that I posted would look really nice as a cake. Well, that made me smile because, hello, I use icing molds. So there are definitely cake artists out there who do steampunk. So why not take advantage of that? And yeah, so here are these guys all ready to pop out. And it's really so quick and easy. So you can see if you've got a couple of molds, within half an hour you can knock out a whole bag full of stuff ready to be used on a project. It's as quick and as easy as that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If there's anything else you'd like to know, please pop a comment in the comment line afterwards, and I'll try and answer as many questions as possible. I hope I covered everything, and I hope it was what you were expecting. Remember, I'm not a professional, I'm just a crafter like the rest of you. I've tried out a few live videos, so you weren't the first guinea pigs. But hey ho, I hope that was good. Ciao for now, guys. Thanks for watching.